Our topic is dry seasons. We've all been there, haven't we? Seasons of life when it feels like you're just walking through thick sand dunes in a desert. You're parched, you're weary, you're not getting any juice or any nectar. What's the purpose of those dry seasons in life? Times when, despite your best efforts, you just don't see any growth. You don't see any fruits. Maybe it might be a relationship that's gotten stagnant over time, stuck on repeat. It might be a deep connection that you long for, but it just doesn't seem to be coming together. It might be your health. You're exercising, eating right, taking supplements, doing all the right things. And yet, some or other, you can't get your blood pressure down. There's no improvement. It's like you're doing everything that you're supposed to, and yet, in spite of that, you're in a dry season. You're in a barren place with nothing new showing on the horizon. Now, we're spirit souls. That's a foundational principle of Krishna consciousness. We're on a journey in this life. And the purpose of our journey is to deepen and enrich our relationship with the Supreme Person whom we call Krishna. And in the course of our walk with God, all of us, we invariably encounter times when we feel dry, when we feel unfulfilled in spite of our faith and our belief. Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, speaks of the cyclical nature of life, times of happiness and distress, winter and summer, growth and apparent stagnation. These dry seasons, they're akin to those times when relationships aren't moving forward, there's a lack of progress in our spiritual practices, or even physical and mental fatigue hinders our devotion. But there's a promise in all of this. And that promise anchors us, those of us who are people of faith, in desolate moments. Krishna is saying to you, or God is saying to you, even when you're parched, even when there doesn't seem to be a single drop of water in your life, He makes this promise. He's not going to forsake you. He sees what's happening, and if you pass the test, keep a smile, keep moving forward, He will reward you abundantly. He knows. He sees those times when you feel left out, overlooked, unseen, unappreciated, doing the extra mile at work or at your family, yet nobody seems to appreciate it. Nobody seems to even want to go so far as to thank you for the extra that you do. You look around, and it seems like doors are slamming in your face in spite of your best efforts. They're opening for everybody else, but not for you. Others are getting promotions. Others are getting appreciation. Others are getting award. Others are getting new opportunities. You're struggling, still grinding. You are still seemingly left behind, a straggler in those dark, difficult spaces. And when that happens, I'm sure you'll all agree with me, it's easy to feel overlooked, forgotten, even a little bit resentful. But our message today is that God, Krishna, sees the barren place, sees your struggle, sees your thirst, your unfulfilled longing, and He's going to do something about it as long as you do your part and keep being a person of faith. When you feel like you can't find water anywhere, know this: you are absolutely on Krishna or God's mind. That desert, that barren season that you're walking through right now, the good news is it's not permanent. Thoughts might whisper into your ear. You'll always be lonely. You'll always be stuck in that addiction. You'll always struggle with your finances. You'll never accomplish your dreams. Who do you think you are? But those are not the truths that God has out in front of us. God's saying to you tonight, in your dry season, Water is coming. Healing is coming. Freedom is coming. That spouse is coming. Victory is coming. God is saying, I'm aware of the specific struggles that you're having in your barren space. You're not alone. You're not forgotten. Those dry places are especially tailored to get you to the next level. Think of Arjuna, great warrior, sweating, perspiring, on the verge of tears. He's forced to fight his cousins, his relatives, his teachers who oppose him on the other side of the battlefield, faced with a profound crisis, the likes of which we can hardly even imagine. This qualifies, I think you'll agree with me, as a dry season of the soul, where his duty seemed to clash with his emotions and his culture and his understanding. He felt drowning in a sea of futility. He had no passion for the battle. He felt like his life had been fruitless, a waste of time. And he contemplated the immense suffering and loss of life which was about to take place. This is a universal experience. Whether you're on a grand battlefield, an epic stage like Arjuna was, or dealing with this in the quiet corner of your heart, we're searching for that refreshing drink of spiritual progress, that breakthrough in our understanding and our walk with God. Sometimes we face what seems to be a barren, unforgiving landscape. And those feelings of fatigue, the waning of enthusiasm in our practice of chanting and our service, our study, it's the experience of the material world negatively impacting our fledgling spirituality. Even amongst a spiritual society such as the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, one may go through periods where one's relationship with one's own fellow devotees feels strained. Community life is never easy at best, and sometimes it can be downright frustrating. So it's in these moments of illusion, dryness, this feeling that you're separated from the God whom you want more than anything else to be reunited with. It's at that time that you can make the most gigantic steps of progress. It's at the time of feeling parched, of feeling lonely, of feeling unfulfilled, that you have the opportunity to knuckle down, dig your heels in, and keep chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because one thing that can never be divorced from the soul, what's the one thing, and no matter what the circumstances, no matter how bleak it is, that no one can take away from you, it's called hope. A hope rooted in God's own promise. Just as Krishna assured Arjuna of his presence, even amidst the chaos of war and moral ambiguity, he's also assuring you today through his teachings, Sarvasya chaham ridi shanavishto matashmitir jnanam kavanam cha. Krishna says, I'm not a god of the Hindus. I'm not a god of a particular race or gender or species. I am that Lord who is seated in the hearts of all living beings. Animals, mammals, reptiles, aquatics, insects. So this is a profound claim on the part of Krishna, that he's never far away from us. Even when we feel like he is distant, it may be ironically and paradoxically true that he's never been closer to us. He's seen your effort. He's seen your struggles. He's seen your unfulfilled yearnings. He's seen the drops of devotion that you muster up and tend to him, even in negative circumstances, even in barren places. Another story is that of Dhruva Maharaj, a young boy, hurt, rejected by his dad, deprived of his right to ascend his father's throne as the heir apparent, insulted by his stepmother. His stepmother, Suruchi, so cold, her words cut like a knife. Only my son deserves a royal life. Take your next birth from my womb, and then maybe you'll be worth the throne. And then it's described, though tears blinded his sight, deep down inside his spirit ignited with a blazing light. He appealed to his mother Suniti, a guiding star. She said, seek Vishnu, he won't be far. Dhruva went into the forest all alone, his resolve stronger than stone. For 6 months his meditation was unbreakable, his will unshakable. The sage Narada Muni saw the boy's true might, taught him a mantra that bathed him in divine light. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Eventually, Lord Vishnu appeared, a vision so grand he touched the boy's head with his hand till the senses expanded. Because you worship without offenses and pretenses, your wish is granted. Over a kingdom greater than your father's you shall reign. The North Star shining brightly above this world of pain. Dhruva the pole star, symbol of love and wavering faith and boundless love. His story echoes a lesson so clear. When darkness surrounds, conquer your fear. But when you feel small, like your dreams are denied, just remember on Dhruva and let his spirit be your guide. Focus your heart, let your ambition take flight. You too can rise up and become a shining light. Now, in spite of the fact that everything was stacked against this 5-year-old boy, everything inspired against him to deprive him of his rightful ascendancy to the throne, it was his longing for and trust in Krishna in the barren places that became his great asset, his great source of strength. He did not receive immediate validation. It was 6 hard months of penances and austerity, taking tree pose in the forest. But his focus was unshakable. His meditation was unbreakable. And eventually, that Lord who is within the heart appeared externally to him, face to face, and offered him a kingdom greater than his father's by many, many times over. He went from being stuck in a position of impotence, insignificance, while his step-brother seemed about to usurp the throne. But Krishna, God, saw his sincere, earnest desire and answered his prayers in a way far beyond his expectations. This is bhakti. Even when we feel stuck, even when our spiritual progress seems stagnant and others seem to be passing us by, Krishna is aware of those struggles. Our barren place is not hidden from God. It is, in fact, in these very moments of perceived lack that our sincerity, our dependence, our trust in God can reach its deepest roots. He sees the sincerity in your hearts. He sees the tears that you shed of longing, the efforts that you make despite being uninspired. And the promise remains, I will not forsake you. I see what's happening both in your inner as well as your outer landscape, and I will answer in ways beyond the furthest stretches of your imagination. Our devotion, friends, is never extended in vain. It's a seed. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Each and every one of us has that seed of love of God within our hearts. And when we nourish it, when we water it by chanting the holy names, and it becomes mature through trials and tribulations, by fire, you might say, eventually that seed will blossom and will taste the fruits of love of Godhead. Our relationship with the Lord will become reestablished. Even the journey of Dhruva Maharaj, even in his initial phase of perceived lack, a powerful principle is demonstrated. And that's the principle of bhakti, that the dry seasons are not permanent. The anxieties and the negative thoughts that plague us during those times, telling us that things will never change, that we'll forever be in this state of lack, those are only illusions due to our limited perspective. Krishna asserts over and over again that as the knower of past, present, and future, and as the architect of our destiny, he has a greater plan in life, of which those dry seasons are a part. Scriptures are filled with imagery that speaks to God's divine intervention in difficult times. There are 4 different analogies that are used. The one of rivers in desolate heights, fountains in valleys, pools in the wilderness, and streams in barren places. And these are 4 metaphors which are rich with meaning. They illustrate how even though our external circumstances appear devoid of hope, the Lord can manifest His grace in unexpected ways. Think of it, a river in the desert. That's completely contrary to the natural order. But it does signify that even when our situation seems utterly hopeless, the flow of God's favor is coming. It may not come as we would expect it. It may not look as we would like it to look. It may not come in our timetable, but rather on God's timetable. But His divine grace has its own timing, and He has His own methods. Think then again of a fountain springing up in a valley. That speaks of sudden breakthroughs, sudden, unexpected good fortune. When we feel low and overlooked, we're down in the valley of depression, God or Krishna can cause something wonderful to emerge out of nowhere, so to speak. New opportunity, healing, positive turn in a relationship. Then pools in the wilderness, refreshment and ease amidst our feelings of loss and being overwhelmed. When we feel directionless and spiritually fatigued, against all the odds, like a bolt from the blue, Krishna can unexpectedly provide moments of deep peace, moments of insight, moments of clarity, moments of renewed strength to get back up again and resume our journey. This might manifest as a deep realization while you're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It might come during an uplifting exchange or a conversation with other devotee, or simply as an inexplicable bolt of energy, as I said, from the blue. And finally, streams in barren places. What are streams in barren places? Opportunity, resources, healing, fruitfulness, even when our efforts seem to have up to then yielded no results. We reach a point where we feel incapable of bringing our spiritual aspirations to fruition, but Krishna can step in and provide the necessary means and inspiration to make the impossible possible. It's crucial to understand, as the scriptures teach, that Krishna does not always remove us from the difficult places. He does not always rescue us from the fire. Often He chooses to bless us in the desert, in the fire, in the barren places. And this is where sadhanagati, this is where our faith and our surrender is tested and strengthened. We learn to rely not just on our own limited capabilities or external circumstances to resolve the problem, but we lean on the unwavering faith and support of the Supreme Lord, who is always present within our and every living being's heart as the Super Soul. Now let's just take a break here and give an example. These analogies a little bit more real. Bring them home. Imagine Priya, a single mother living here in the United States. She's a dedicated devotee. She's chanting around. She attends her local temple program, also goes online whenever we can, and she's trying to raise her child in Krishna consciousness. She loses her job during an economic downturn. This is her desert. Financial insecurity, worry about the future, and feeling like her efforts to maintain her spiritual practices are being pushed out, overshadowed by the need to provide for her child. Negative thoughts are knocking on the door. How will I pay the rent? Will I have to compromise my values and shortcut my spiritual practices in order to find work? Have my prayers, in fact, been in vain. Now, from a material perspective, her situation does not look good. There are no immediate job openings in her field. The bills are piling up. It feels like a barren place where no opportunity is sprouting. But she continues chanting. She continues to have faith against all expectations, in spite of the fact that the odds are against her. She continues to chant, go to the temple amidst the stress, to hold on to the teachings of the Gita, to continue her practice of bhakti, chant, do whatever service she can do at the temple, and above and beyond all, trust in God's protection. And then, unexpectedly, an old acquaintance that she hadn't spoken to in years reaches out, heard about her situation, and happened to know about a perfect job opening. One that aligns with her skills, offers financial stability, and even allows her the flexibility to continue her devotional practices. This is the fountain in the valley. That's a sudden breakthrough that she didn't see coming. An unexpected good turn when she felt she was in a low place. Moreover, she got support from her local temple community. They would bring meals. They would help with childcare, provide encouraging words, acting as pools in the wilderness, refreshing her spirit and giving her the strength to persevere when she felt overwhelmed and lost. And the new job, consider that, utilizes her talents in unforeseen ways. This job becomes a stream, so to speak, in a barren place, providing resources and opportunities that she desperately needed, proving that even a situation that seemed to be devoid of potential, Krishna could bring forth abundance. Now, her experience illustrates that God works in ways that our little brain cannot fathom. He doesn't always take us out of our difficulties, but He does provide unexpected blessings, timely support, and the inner strength needed to navigate those dry seasons, which will not last forever. So that even within that challenging period, we can count on divine intervention in ways that we could have never foreseen. So this all combines together to increase our trust in the Lord, to mature us as devotees. The difficult places are part of God's plan to get us to where we need to be. Now maybe, just maybe, some of you are struggling with a persistent internal obstacle to your spiritual life. Maybe you've lost your taste for chanting. You've got some lingering doubts. There's an inability to focus during your alone time with God. You've been sincere. You haven't desisted. You've kept at it. You've prayed for relief, and yet the dryness just seems to go on and on and on and on. And then somehow or other, out of nowhere, an insight illuminates your path. A new understanding of a verse you've read hundreds of times all of a sudden brings tears to your eyes. You encounter a devotee who shares exactly the wisdom that you needed in your life. Not coincidence. Fountain of spiritual clarity springing up in your personal wilderness. Think about your service to the temple. Maybe there's a long cherished project, something you'd like to do, but you feel stuck. You don't have the resources. You don't have the support. You're starting to feel discouraged. And although you've offered your best, you say, Krishna, why isn't this happening? It's for you. You put the plan in my heart. It's to benefit you. Why is it not happening? The fruit seems elusive. You're feeling yourself in a desolate landscape, in a dry season. Then you recall Krishna's promise that He will never abandon you. The clarity of the realization comes to you how it is that His divine hand is there, ready to reach out even under and especially under the most improbable circumstances. So let's touch upon briefly what it means to experience these fountains of insight, creativity in the desert. They're not just good fortune, but they're unexpected new sources of God's grace that spring up precisely when you need them, precisely when you feel most parched. Now, in our journey of devotion, in our journey of bhakti, these are the moments when, despite what seems to be external stagnation, as well as internal struggle, the Lord intervenes in ways that defy our material logic. Connection appears from an unexpected place. A vital resource materializes, or a sudden wave of inspiration empowers you to overcome those obstacles. This is God or Krishna orchestrating a fountain of opportunity, ensuring that your sincere devotional efforts have not gone in vain. You find yourself flourishing, not necessarily after leaving the desert, being rescued from the desert, but right there in the desert itself. There's an abundance manifesting where once only barrenness persisted. So these fountains are proof of God's constant and intimate involvement in our lives. Direct manifestation of His promise to make rivers in the desolate heights, fountains in the valleys, pools in the wilderness, and streams in very barren places. The very unlikelihood of water in these places is exactly the point. God's blessings often appear contrary to our expectations. He's telling us that when you're in your spiritual or material desert, I'm going to bring you unexpected, miraculous blessings. So how do we invite these fountains of water into our life? We have to cultivate Shraddha, which is a Sanskrit word for faith, by persistent, uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service to the Lord. We call this LDS, loving devotional service without any selfish motivation and without any interruption. This is about remembering Krishna in all circumstances, not just on Sundays, but in the gym, at work, on the freeway, in that traffic jam, knowing always that He's closer to you than a brother. He's situated within your heart, and He is our ultimate provider. Not the job, not the stock market, not the economy, but God is our ultimate provider, and He's assuring you this afternoon, in the pursuit of your God-given destiny, He preserves what you have, and He carries what you lack. For those who worship Me exclusively in devotion, meditating in My transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. What we bring to the altar of the Almighty Lord is simply our yearning for Him in those dry moments. Our commitment to our practices despite the apparent lack. These are the acts which bring God front and center into our lives. So understand this point. Your barren seasons are not your final destination. Krishna, God, the controller of all energy, sees every sincere effort you make. He hears every heartfelt prayer. He knows the struggles you face, the thirst in your heart, and the unwavering devotion that you offer even in scarcity. Just as He did for Dhruva Maharaj, transforming his childish determination into a cosmic blessing, He can do the same for you. Therefore, open our eyes, open our hearts, look for these fountains, have absolute faith in them. Do not let the momentary dryness of your present circumstance blind you to the imminent, powerful flow of His favor, because even when the world's experts and all the talking heads declare you barren, even when material conditions seem utterly impossible, remember that your ultimate blessing, your ultimate sustenance comes not from people, not from circumstances, but directly from the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you've kept Him first place, He's brought you here tonight to assure you And He's going to take you from what looks dry, from what looks desolate, from what looks devoid of strength, and take you to a place where you'll bloom with unprecedented vibrancy. He promises that He's going to transform your barrenness into bountifulness. As we walk this sacred path of bhakti, let's carry this profound and unshakable hope in our hearts that no matter how challenging the landscape of our lives may appear, that God or Krishna is ever present, ever active, and ever ready to open up in new, unexpected ways, miraculous sources of joy, peace, and spiritual fulfillment. He's making rivers in the desert, fountains in the valleys, pools in the wilderness, streams in our barren places. Water is coming, healing, freedom, victory, through Krishna's boundless, all-encompassing mercy. Let me tell you that your desert place will not only bloom, not only explode into a garden of loving peace, purposefulness, joy, and creativity in this life, but your faith in the dry place of life will be your ticket after this life is over to go back home, back to Godhead, where life is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. Thank you. If any of that resonated with you, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare